Hello and welcome to another episode of Hanna and Eastwood Get Real. And it's regarded a very special episode because today our friend Harry Eastwood is in the hot seat for an episode we are calling Harry Eastwood, the man behind the microphone. So how are you doing, Harry?
I'm very good, thanks. Very good.
Are you nervous about me actually questioning you?
Not really, but because I think you know all the answers I'm going to give because we know each other so well. But I shouldn't think there'll be any particular surprises, but you never know.
So first of all, do you want to explain how we met?
Yes. So obviously it was in the first week of our first year at uni. We were in the same halls together, and I'd sort of met you on the first day briefly when you were moving in, but never really had time to get talking. And then in the sort of early stages, I always had my door open because I was very sociable at that point. That changed very quickly as time went by. Once I knew who I liked and who I didn't like. So yeah, that in the first sort of few days or so, a few weeks, I had my door open, and one morning I was sitting down to do some work, I think, and then you came in asking for help. There was a cry of help from the kitchen.
I think we'll leave that story.
Can you give me a
there.
hand a minute? I was like, yeah, sure. I was sort of expecting, he's probably smashed a plate or something, or I don't know, misplaced something. And no, to my surprise, I'd seen that Sam had put his pancakes, which he was having for breakfast, in the toaster, which was a surprise to me. And I thought, wow, this is where we're at. These are my new flatmates. I've got to get used to this sort of thing. But yeah, that was we've never really moved on from that. We've always looked back on that and told it to everyone because it's quite a famous way how we met. And we went through a number of toasters, didn't we, as well? It wasn't the only toaster.
I think we went through about 4 in the space of a week.
Probably, yeah. I mean, the other ones weren't your fault, but the first one was. But yeah, it was. I guess we could say it was an explosive first meeting, wasn't it?
It was.
The sparks were flying everywhere.
And I remember looking up how to clean the toaster because I've no. And somebody on Google said you can submerge it in hot water as long as you don't get the plug wet. And I was thinking, I'm stupid. I'm not that stupid.
I thought, I bet that was a uni student that wrote that. Sounds like the kind of thing they would think to do in the first week. Just, it'd be fine. Just chuck it in without a plug. But luckily, we didn't.
So, moving into the serious stuff. One thing people don't tend to know about you is that you're actually a grade 8 musician rather than studying environmental science at university. The two are
doesn't really go together, does it? I can't explain it myself.
But what first got you into music?
To be honest, I can't really explain it because I remember being in primary school. Must have been as early as year 1 probably, and I remember seeing there was a lady that came in to our assemblies that used to play the piano, so that we could sing our songs and stuff. And I remember just being absolutely transfixed by the piano. It was just pure instinct. I can't explain why. But I just thought, really, really want to learn that. And this was when I was in year 1, so it was almost an instinct, it was like it was imprinted in me that I was going to learn to play the piano. But also, my mum's side of the family was very musical. My mum actually got to grade 8. I don't know whether you know that. Do you know that?
No, I didn't.
Well, yeah. She'll be loving that now that you know. Next time you should be like, yeah, go and play something. But yeah, she got to grade 8 and then she sort of let it go. which I find very frustrating. Because I don't think if you become that good at something, you shouldn't let it go. But
Yeah.
I guess people get sidetracked and everything. But yeah, so my mum was very musical, and then my great grandfather was concert pianist. So it's definitely in the blood. On that
Just
side
not
of it.
on
It's
your dad's
I've
side.
definitely inherited nothing musically from my dad's side. That's for sure. Not one of them. Not one of them on that side can play. My dad's tried, so I'll give him that, but hasn't really managed to get to grips with the guitar, unfortunately. But he does try.
And I presume with lockdown, because obviously you were working before lockdown,
Yeah.
meaning you did have to put the piano on the
I'd
back
neglected
bench.
it a little bit because I'd literally just taken on a new job just before lockdown. So I was very busy with that. And yeah, I just didn't have time. I really didn't, which was annoying. There was nothing I could do about that.
And then lockdown came along, and you had the time.
Yeah, that's what you see. I love lockdown in many ways because it gave me the chance to do things that I didn't have time for before in normal life. So I could just focus on things that I really wanted to do, which was to carry on with the piano and try and get my skill set back up again, because I definitely felt that I'd lost some dexterity and stuff, and my hands weren't quite as agile as they used to be. So yeah, I just set myself a task really to try and learn some new pieces and some difficult pieces that would take a lot of work. But I had the time to do it. So under normal circumstances, I managed to learn 3 really difficult pieces in lockdown, and there's no way I would have been able to have learnt those 3 in that space of time if there hadn't have been a lockdown. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. And yeah, it was amazing how much time I put in, because there was nothing else to do. So I just thought, all right, I'm going to nail this. I sat down for hours at a time often, just going through it. But it was so nice to be able to focus on it.
And he does actually have an Instagram account solely for piano
I do.
pieces.
I wasn't going to promote that, but
Harry,
if you're offering, then we'll go for it.
At Harry Eastwood Piano, I believe.
Very imaginative name, I thought, but.
But you're not just a one-trick pony, are you? Despite being classically trained, you have a secret persona in the musical comedy, in the musical comedy world. For those who didn't know, he is he is my double, the other half of the double.
I'm not a doppelganger. I don't think anyone's going to believe that. Sorry.
Well, we could have always tried.
We can try, but.
So I think you started as an accompanist for me.
Well, you asked me. You were doing a show, and then you asked me to if I would accompany you on a few songs. I was like, yeah, sure.
And you spent more time reading the program.
I did, yeah. I knew every single word of that program by the end.
But after that show, I think we started doing open mic nights together, where you were playing. Then we did a main show together. And the review.
Well, I wasn't twiddling my thumbs for most of it and reading the program. I was actually involved in quite a fair bit, but still, like, it was sort of half and half, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was half and half. And Harry again got no credit in any of the reviews, because we were reading the reviews the other day, and all the credit went on to me. But what would you say your comedy influences are for music?
For music, well, the thing is, I have many different. I'll say a few of my favourite comedians first. And Rowan Atkinson is one of my all-time favourite comedians, and I think his the ability that he's able to just create something funny out of absolutely nothing, like even saying a simple word, and he makes it instantly hilarious. I think he's a really, really one of a kind talent. And yeah, he's always been a major. His comic timing is superb. So he's always been an idol of mine. Bill Bailey is definitely one of my musical comedy favourites. I think he's absolutely brilliant. I've seen him live twice, and he is just absolutely hilarious. And he's so versatile. He can play so many different instruments, and he's able to change up very well-known theme tunes, every songs that everyone knows, and just change them slightly. So it might be just playing it in a minor key instead of a major key, or he changes one particular note in the melody to make it sound like an Indian scale or something. And it's genius. And what he does is it's all very simple stuff, and that's what's genius about it. Like the doorbell sketch, for example, that's such simple music. It's just like a little jingle. He was changing them up and suggesting ones for different situations, and absolutely brilliant. So yeah, those are sort of my main ones. And obviously Fascinating Aida, who I knew before you knew because I introduced you to them. And God knows where you'd be right now.
You turned me into the monster.
I do hold myself very responsible, but yeah, I mean, I remember a friend showing me Fascinating Aida, and I just thought they were absolutely brilliant. I hadn't heard of them before. It was very refreshing comedy. I'd never sort of seen musical comedy before in that sense, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. And then as soon as I met you, and we knew we had the same sense of humor, and actually we really sort of became friends over Rowan Atkinson, didn't we?
Yeah.
And that's when I knew our senses of humor were sort of in sync. So I thought, yeah, you'll definitely like Fascinating Aida. So yeah, I think comedy and music are just fantastic. They work so well together, and there's not enough of it, is there?
I think if you do it well, if you can,
That's it.
If you can perform it well, it works well together. If you can't perform it well, it falls horribly flat.
Yeah, but I think that's the risk with all comedy, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can have a disastrous set, or it can go fantastically well. And you do have to be funny, unfortunately, to do it. And you either have it or you don't. You either have that sort of comedy edge or you don't. But luckily for the both of us, we seem to have entertained our audiences. So I hope we've got it. But
so that moves us on very nicely. After 3 years of performing together, what's your favorite song to perform? Because we've technically not performed together for a while. I think we performed like secretly together, like when we visited, but we haven't publicly performed for a while.
No. That's interesting. I think it has to be Alarm Bells. No question about that, because obviously, and Tim Vine is another one of my comedy influences. I like delivering one-liners, and he is a one-liner comedian. And yeah, his little song Alarm Bells, we decided to give it a go, and I think it's brilliant. And I love it particularly because I actually managed to nail a harmony, which was a major achievement for me. So,
well, let's just put the record straight. You don't sing the harmony. You sing the.
If I'm able to maintain the melody I'm supposed to be singing, so I'm going to take that as I can do a harmony. Let me have that victory, please.
I'll let you have it. Now, obviously, because this is the podcast, people, our viewers may be unaware that during our summer break, we said, I kind of went viral. I think or fungal, as fascinating as it's alright. I got some cream for it. And something beautiful came out of that. Because on the day I made the page go live, I sort of made a promise that was sort of impossible to keep because there was no plan in place, and that was that for the first 20 people to like the page, they would receive the new album, Sam Hanna, The Lockdown Sessions. Now, little secret for anybody who is watching, at the time of publishing, there was no plan for Sam Hanna, The Lockdown Session, or no plan for any CD of any nature. But I can confirm that we have a new album out, and what we've had the reviews in, and what people tend not to realize, because the album is called Sam Hanna Teaching New Dogs Old Tricks, they tend not to notice that Harry is actually on the album, showing not only his piano playing skills, but also his lovely voiceover work.
I thought you were just going to say his lovely voice then. I thought, oh, very kind, but I don't think so.
So going on to the album, you appear mainly on the album as a voiceover artist, sort of making way for the opening track or the ending tracks. Give us a little taster of which characters people could
Well,
expect.
I think we couldn't do it at all without Boris, because he has been such a part of our year so far, and I just thought it would be a nice way to begin the album by doing an impression of Boris, sort of with his nonsensical rules and everything. It was sort of inspired by Matt Lucas, to be honest, with his intro to The Great British Bake Off, and which was absolute genius. And I thought it would be a good way to start the album. And it's one that I'm not quite there with it, but it's near enough that people didn't know it was me. So I thought it was you. So maybe I was doing more of an impression of you. I don't know. I don't think you sound like that. But.
Who else can we expect?
And then I, for some reason, decided to do a Gary Barlow impression. I can't remember where that came about from, because I was trying to decide what would be appropriate for that stage of the album, and I just decided for some reason, because I could do a northern accent quite well, and Gary Barlow is quite easy because he just talks very, very slowly, and I just thought it'd be a funny thing to put in, and then this is even more random. The old woman at the end, absolutely no idea why I decided to do that, but I just thought it's a funny voice, and it was based on something from a program from childhood, actually, which we both watched, called Sorry I've Got No Head, and yeah, it was based on these old women that go into the various stores and complain that everything's worth £1,000. I just decided £1,000. I just thought it would be a good idea to put that in as well, because it was sort of the ending of the album. I wanted to try and well, it's sort of promoting the album at the end, so I just thought, yeah, it would be a funny thing to put in. I mean, that's the way comedy works. Sometimes it's so random I don't know what possessed me to come up with that, but when I decided to do it, we both laughed about it. So I thought, yeah, that would be good. But yeah.
And you do show your piano playing skills. I hate to break it to the three people
Spoilers.
who reviewed the album, but This Land is not me. I'm flattered that you thought it was me. But it is
It's out there now, though.
It's the wonderful Hanna Eastwood playing This Land, and I presume that's one of the pieces you learned during lockdown.
Yeah. I basically, all the pieces I learned actually were by this same guy on YouTube, Patrick Hirschman, his name is, and he's absolutely brilliant. He's got over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. we can't quite say the same thing yet, but there's always time. But yeah, he's produced some amazing arrangements of a lot of film scores. Mainly film stuff actually, and classical pieces. And yeah, the Lion King one came up, This Land, and I just was absolutely transfixed by it. And I thought, I've got to learn this. It's absolutely sounds amazing. It's very atmospheric, very emotional. You've got sort of a very sort of slow atmospheric start, then and it just gets more and more upbeat and more difficult as the piece goes ahead. And then right at the end, I'm actually crossing my arms from the bass to hit notes above my right hand. So it took a lot of work. And then you said you wanted it on the album, so I was very flattered about that.
I have to say, not to blow anyone's trumpet or anything, it's the perfect song for the album, for a comedy album. I mean, This Land isn't a comedy piece.
No,
not in any way.
Strange sense of humor if someone's hysterically laughing.
But it fits in beautifully into the select number of songs that were chosen by.
Well, it's just a bit of a break of sort of the musical comedy, and it's just an instrumental, so it sort of separates out sort of the.
It succeeds
pieces a bit.
A rap. It succeeds a rap, and proceeds.
So in a way, that's quite comedic.
And precedes Christmas politics song. So I think you need the breather in between the two, otherwise you'll probably die of laughter. Not to blow my own trumpet. Now, of course, you've listened to the album. Well, I presume you've listened to the album.
Yeah.
I hope you've listened to the album. Of the 14 songs, any standout tracks?
Well, I personally, I like The Workout and Stuck on You. And those are two songs that you wrote, obviously, during lockdown. And I just love the relevance of them. And I think this album's great because it's so applicable to current times. And these are two brand new tracks that no one's ever heard before. Obviously, you did a few Facebook Lives when you sort of debuted them. But I thought they're absolutely brilliant. And just what sort of people needed during lockdown, taking light of the situation and creating a comedy spin on it. And yeah, The Workout sort of based on Joe Wicks's Workout, which was sort of the trend that was going around that I didn't actually sort of get onto. Actually, I know a lot of people did, but I tried to make myself do it, but I just took one look at it and I thought, no way. No way, I'm going to learn the piano. I'm going to put my mind to learning some new pieces. That will be a much better use of my time. But who knows, if there's another lockdown, might give it a go. But yeah.
you ran 5K during, was it 5K during lockdown?
Yeah, one of the worst experiences of my life. It was for charity, but it was for the NHS, wasn't it?
Yes.
But yeah, it was one of the there was a few Instagram challenges that went around. I much preferred the downing the pint one, but I still couldn't do that. I lost my my touch with that. But
I think you challenged me to run 5K and it never happened.
I mean, the decent thing really is just to donate to the NHS and not run the 5K. But I mean, I debated doing that, but I thought, when else am I going to run 5K? I've never run 5K in my life. So I just thought I'll try and do it, try and challenge myself. Yeah, and I've felt probably quite ill actually. So at the end.
So
anyway.
So Sam Hanna teaching new dogs Ultrix is out next weekend, featuring Hanna Eastwood and myself.
It is the best album by a country mile so far.
Not the best album.
No. Obviously, that would be quite a promotion, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, but genuinely,
it's the best. People are saying it's a masterpiece. It's the best Sam Hanna album yet. And it is available for pre-order. I will throw the link. It will be in the description below. And finally, I feel we should mention the podcast. Obviously, 6 months later, I think just over 6 months later, and here we are, 5 subscribers. I think 1,415 views.
All very specific.
On the YouTube channel. For something that came from me, and I think we were both wary about starting the podcast.
We've never done anything like this before either.
But we've never done anything like this before. We don't edit this. We just whack titles and then end credits on, and that's your lot.
Yeah.
How do you feel the podcast has gone?
No, I love it. I absolutely love it. I remember our first ever episode. We were both so nervous and didn't know what to say, what we could say, and whether we would receive a load of backlash. And but yeah, it was a very, very tentative first episode. But looking at how we've grown now, we've sort of found ourselves as YouTube sort of producers almost, and we know exactly what we want to do. And this was the perfect time to start it, because 2020 is a good way of looking at what's going on in the world and talking about it. And I think people like to hear what other people think and actually hear a bit of common sense, because we think there's far too much nonsense. There's far too much nonsense going on in the media, with protests, with various matters, with COVID. But it's just nice to get it off our chest and actually say it how it is. And I think there's not enough people that do say it how it is, and I enjoy doing that.
And we refuse to watch that first episode now.
Which means that all the viewers are probably going to go and watch that now, aren't they?
I should have just kept my mouth shut. But now for a final question, which I know you have had no preparation for. 46 videos on the channel. Which is your favorite? Which was your favorite to make?
It's really difficult because we've made so many now, and I did have an initial one that I really enjoyed. The one that was my favorite for a long time was the thing about social media, and the nonsense that is on social media, and that you've got to read into things before you post about something like BLM, which you haven't read into, and then you get yourselves into all sorts of issues, and then you're creating arguments when there isn't actually an argument to be had. I mean, obviously, Black Lives Matter, there is arguments to be had in terms of we need to improve racial equality. We really, really do. And undoubtedly, there are racist problems in our country. But you need to have a sensible conversation about it. And there's no doubt about it, it got out of hand. And BLM is an organisation that, if you actually look into it properly, rather than just jumping on this bandwagon and thinking it's promoting black people's rights and trying to improve equality, that actually there's a lot of negative things about it, and actually it's doing more harm than good. And I think it's actually taught me a lot doing this, because I was probably quite naive before we did the podcast, and would often sort of support a trend that was going round. But it's now taught me that no, you can't just do that. You've got to actually know what you're supporting. And I think that's a lesson for everyone to take home, really, because it can be extremely dangerous if you promote something on social media like BLM, which is in fact quite a dangerous organisation. So yeah, that's what I would have to say. That's sort of probably I like that video because it was sort of the moment where we actually got some guts and actually said what we really thought, I think. That was sort of the turning point in the channel. So I think, that's probably still one of my favourite videos, just because we were just no nonsense talking, and it was great.
So thank you for letting me interview you.
All right.
And thus comes the end of episode 4 of Hanna and Eastwood Get Real. I can confirm that we will be going slightly long. We will be going longer than 6 episodes in this series.
Far too much to cover.
There's far too much to cover. In the coming weeks, we will be touching on conspiracy theories. That is something
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to that. Some more ranking episodes. More week in 15-minute episodes on Thursday or Friday. Whenever we can be bothered to film them. Hopefully some more interviews with people during lockdown.
And more common sense.
We may be in tier 3 by Christmas.
I wouldn't be surprised the way it's going.
And of course, more common sense. So what are you waiting for? You have some simple instructions. You need to like this video. You need to subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you don't miss our brand new and exclusive content. On a Monday, we have our reviews episode. On a Thursday or Friday, we have the week in 15 minutes or under, where we bring you the week's biggest news stories. And on Saturday, we have a brand new episode of Hanna and Eastwood Get Real, the podcast. And most importantly, more importantly than subscribing to the channel, click on the link below and pre-order the album. But we will see you all again very soon. Thank you very much. Good night.